It's been over 7 months since the release of the People's Liberation Army as a playable faction, and since then we've been able to play as the Chinese in places like Ukraine, Finland, and of course Canada. You know, those types of maps that we were all expecting to play the Chinese in, right? Yeah, well, I know I'm not alone in wondering why we haven't been able to get a real Asian map now that we have not one, but 2 playable Asian factions with the recent release of the Chinese Marine Naval Corps, but all of our questions were actually just answered in Squad's most recent devlog titled Sanxian Island and Pacific Proving Grounds. Apparently, we were actually supposed to already be playing an Asian map, and the Sanxian Island map was originally slated to be released alongside Update 4.0 and the PLA last year. If you've been around the game a while, you might have actually remembered seeing something that was unreleased in the old roadmap for Squad. Now, technically, this roadmap doesn't exist anymore, but through the power of the internet, we can confirm that the original plan for the game was that in 2021 we would get the Pan-Asian faction, which was obviously renamed to be the People's Liberation Army, and then we would also be getting an unreleased map, which we now know as Sanxian. Obviously, development has been a little slow since that's now looking to be at least 2 years late. But I've got to say, this recent devlog post was actually surprisingly open and transparent when it came to why we haven't gotten anything yet. The devs start off by essentially saying that they ran into a lot more problems making this map than they originally thought. And the biggest issue when creating a map for the Asian biome would be to make it both fun and optimized. I don't think I'm alone here in saying that I don't really care how amazing a map is if I only get 30 or 40 FPS on it. And just the idea of a map that has plenty of buildings to render, you have water all around, and then you also have to worry about a jungle? Yeah, I can feel my PC already sweating and starting to cry just thinking about trying to run it. Now, the unfortunate truth for a lot of people is that many of Squad's most recent maps are just good in theory, but the performance for their own computer just makes the whole experience frustrating. Sometimes it's not even just frustrating and borderline unplayable with drops into 20 or 30 FPS. And it's kind of across the board. You have older maps like Narva or even a newer map like Lashkar Valley, and they all can just have these huge areas and zones that just absolutely tank your FPS and just make it not a fun time to play. Additionally, when you take into consideration we're going to be getting the infantry combat overhaul soon and have dual rendered scopes, yeah, I feel like I have to buy like a $3,000 or $4,000 computer just to be able to play Squad, which came out like 3 years ago. So in order to prevent people from complaining about the Sanxian Island map performance from day one, it actually looks like the devs just completely stopped production on the map itself and then went back behind the scenes to make sure it was being done right from the ground up, as the devs state here. Recognizing the importance of efficient development processes, we decided to take a step back and reevaluate our level design and environment art workflow. While this decision has led to further delays, we firmly believe that it will yield substantial long-term benefits. By streamlining our workflow, we will be able to deliver not just Sanxian Islands, but future content more seamlessly, ensuring higher quality and more engaging experiences for our players. This is now the second devlog in 2 months where the Squad devs have been incredibly open about saying, yeah, we kind of screwed up in the past, so we're going to take the time now and fix it all. And I've got to give them a lot of respect for that. It would be really easy to simply push through a map like Sanxian and then deal with the performance later, since everybody just really wanted Asia. And they've clearly done this with things before in the past, like the Aussie faction and when they released the Anvil and Lashkar Valley maps. But actually halting content drops and instead focusing on fixing the actual process you use to make that content, well, that's not only time consuming, but it can be a real pain if what we think is true with Squad essentially being built on old spaghetti code from modders who turned professional developers over the years. The devs continued in saying that creating visually stunning environments is one of our core goals, but it must be balanced with optimal performance to ensure smooth gameplay for all players. Our commitment to delivering Squad in its best possible form meant that we had to address performance issues encountered during the development of Sanxian Islands to avoid issues we've had with some of our newer maps. This includes optimizing assets, improving lighting, and fine-tuning various aspects to maintain the desired visual fidelity while keeping performance requirements within acceptable limits. However, despite all of these behind-the-scenes things being fixed with how they actually make maps and develop it, unfortunately, it still looks like Sanxian Island is not finished to be released. Now, when I see a blog post that says Sanxian Islands and Pacific Proving Grounds, I'm going to be under the assumption that we're going to be getting a new map. So yeah, I'm bummed. But honestly, if I just take a second to not be enraged that we're not getting new content, this makes me think that in the future, we're actually going to be in a much better place. Because hopefully, if the devs have done what they had to do behind the scenes right, then we don't have to worry and fight our own computers to play a non-optimized map. If I have to wait another 5 or 6 months just so that the optimization process of Squad is better, meaning that not just Sanxian will play better, but whatever they also have planned for the future, I am more than okay with that. I'm actually having a blast in Squad right now, and yeah, of course I want to play new maps, but my biggest pain points for me are actually just the graphical hitching and large FPS drops. So fixing the map development process and making more optimized content in the future is a huge win for everyone playing the game, in my opinion. Now, to actually talk about the map itself, we did get a few screenshots of Sanxian as a teaser, which you've seen in the video here, and it's more or less what you've probably expected. It's a lush Asian jungle, there's plenty of coastline, and some decent elevation to give players opportunities for fun firefights throughout. Now, I don't know how big this map is or where it's actually supposed to be located in the real world, but my best guess is that it appears to be a recreation of a place called Sanxian Tai in Taiwan. Sanxian Tai has a few islands and a footbridge which connects it back to the coast of Taiwan. And although the names could just be a coincidence, I don't see why the devs would name it Sanxian Island unless it was the same place based on everything else we have in game. For example, the map Black Coast is actually a Ukrainian coastal map bordering the Black Sea, and you even have maps like Yehorivka, which is a real city in Ukraine, or Tallil Outskirts, which is named after the Tallil Air Base in Iraq. Following these same naming conventions, it makes sense that Sanxian Island would be Sanxian Tai. But to be honest, I think that's a potentially controversial map to kick Asia off. I thought there might have been like some border country, Southeast Asia, your Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. I thought we were going to get maps there, but to actually put a map in Taiwan, that's pretty confident in what you want to do with your game, especially since we know that OWI has investment from Tencent. Still, there's no actual story, there's no single player mission when it comes to Squad, so everything is just made up. And why we're actually fighting in Sanxian Island and why we're actually fighting in Taiwan, well, you can make up a whole bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just a location. But I just kind of hope people don't take this location and map too seriously and can just enjoy Sanxian Island for what it is. But hey, you and I both know the internet, so we'll see how that works. All right, so we've been teased with supposedly Taiwan, and the devs ultimately have said, yeah, sorry it's taking so long on this new Taiwanese map, but we're still not done. So what is the actual point of the blog post? Well, not only is this type of transparency appreciated, so we all know that they are in fact working on the game and not abandoning it after cashing in on those emotes, but they also state that we are going to be actually getting a few new playable versions of the Pacific Proving Grounds. The Pacific Proving Grounds is a training map with a few islands and an aircraft carrier, but as a way to keep everyone entertained and interested in the Asian maps and give a little bit of new content, the devs have gone back and changed it into quote-unquote 3 new small-scale gameplay layers on one of the newly added islands. This training map is already pretty awesome just by itself, and adding a completely new island to play what I'm guessing would be skirmish or a smaller advanced and secure game sounds really cool. It's probably going to be all amphibious and helicopters, and it should be really interesting and different than what we have in game right now. Now, we don't have any date on when we will actually be able to play the Pacific Proving Grounds rework maps, but historically we get content drops within 1 or 2 weeks after these dev blogs, so I would expect our first real taste of an Asian map sometime in July. But what do you guys think? Do you appreciate the devs taking a step back and fixing their internal map development process? Do you care if we have to wait another year before we get Sanxian? Or are the maps the least of your concern right now when it comes to Squad? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.